Welcome to the solutions video of the CODE100 license plate challenge. This time it was about German license plates of cars. So let's take a look. What we have here is a German license plate. It has a city and region, it has random letters and numbers, and it has an indicator which state it's from. And there are several rules what makes it a valid license plate or invalid. So you got two data sets to play with. One of them was a CSV file with all the valid license plate cities and areas, their names and states. So you got, for example, A for Augsburg, Bavaria. A would be this, Augsburg is not showing up, but this one here would be Bavaria. And you got an array of 2000 licenses in JSON format. These are the ones that I generated for you. What I wanted to do was go through the dataset and find the following: invalid licenses, Bavarian licenses, and electric licenses. And the rules were as follows. Licenses have a format of XXX, YY, NNNE. XXX is the city and area, which has to be part of the CSV dataset that I sent you. The other ones are actually letters from the alphabet, A to Z, and cannot be an umlaut, whereas like in the city there could be an umlaut. NNNN is up to 4 digits, so 0 to 4 digits. 1 to 4 digits, not 0. And electric car licenses stand with an E. So I gave you a few examples, what are valid and invalid license plates, and I wanted to have an object to be sent back that gives me invalid licenses, Bavarian licenses, and electric licenses. So how do you go about that? Let's take a look at the source code. I used Node.js as usual, so let's take a look at that. So here's the challenge and the README, and here's also the data set. The first stumbling block that some of you have not actually found out is, again, that data can never be trusted. Data has always been dirty, and you always have to look directly what's going on in the data. So if you look at the CSV data, you find that there's like the cities and the names, but you also see that some of them have a follow-up license, meaning that they had an old license, but they have a new one as well. So both of them could still be available because some of the older cars would have the old one and some of the newer ones would have the new one. So you cannot just check for the name of the license, but you also have to check which one actually has parentheses in it and actually get both of them into the data set. So that was something a lot of people missed out on, and so they got the wrong numbers in the end. But that's just basically a reminder that data can never be trusted. So let's take a look at the source code, what I've done here, and actually what it works out. So the first thing I did is read file, sync the data CSV, and then split it on line breaks. This is what comma separated values are. If you take a look at the data again, you see it's actually just line breaks. And in between, you got like different parts of data with quotes around them and commas in between. That's what a CSV file is. So in this case, I just basically go through it and split it at the line breaks, and that gave me an array of all the content in the CSV dataset. Then I actually do a line shift because the first line is always the explanation, license name, and so on. So I don't need that one. Line shift gets rid of the first array item, and that way I just now only have the data from the different cities that I want to work with. I then actually define two arrays, valid cities and Bavarian cities, because that's what the challenge asked me to do. And I go through each of these lines. So I split the line and then actually get the 0 indexed array element. That is basically the first license. I then actually put all the quotes around it away because I don't need that and I don't want that, because as you've seen in the data CSV, as soon as there is like a space somewhere in there, it actually puts quotes around it. I made that a bit easier in that CSV. It should not normally have all the quotes around it, but I made it a bit easier for you to actually work with it. So I get rid of all the quotes around them. So I just get the name of the city and the name of the license plate. Then I check if there is a parenthesis in there. And if it is, then I split it on the parentheses and actually put it in the valid cities array, the first one and the second one without the closing parentheses. I actually then do a line split on the comma again and get the second one, which is the state. So you can see here the states are the second parts of the CSV file. And then I actually put that into and compare it to Bayern, which is Bavaria. And then I put it into the Bavarian cities array. If the city does not include any parentheses, then I actually just push it into the valid cities array and then do the same thing for the Bavaria bit. So this one gave me two arrays, valid cities and Bavarian cities. So then all I had to do is go through the licenses. I define a new object called result. I read the licenses in as licenses.json. And then I have an array of invalid licenses, valid licenses, Bavarian licenses, and electric licenses. These were the things that I was asked to do in the README. Then I have a function that I wrote that is valid, that actually validates the license plate if it actually is a valid license plate. So if you look at the data set of the license plates, you will actually see that that's the image, not that. Going on. Licenses JSON. Sorry about that. You see that they're actually just the city name, a dash, and then the random letters and numbers. So what I do here is I actually go through the solution and split it at the dash. So that one then means that I got the name of the city as the first array item. I check if that one is part actually of valid cities, and if it's not, then it actually returns false. Then I split the second part of the license plate at the space, because if you look at the licenses again, you can see that there's a space between the letter and the numbers. And that one gives me now only that bit here. So I want to validate that one because that cannot have any umlauts in it. So in this case, I just check if it only has the letters A to Z to start with and end with, and it could be more than one. And then the whole length should be not more than 2, because you can only have 2 letters in the second part and not 3. But I don't think the dataset had any of those. That was not a stumbling block that I put in there for you. And if that is also return false, if not return true, and that gives me a valid license plate. And then I go through each of the licenses. If the valid is licensed, then I push it into the valid licenses. If it ends with an E, I put it into electric. If it actually is part of the Bavarian cities array, the license itself, like the first part of the license, then I push it into the Bavarian array, and otherwise I put it into an invalid licenses array. And then I just add the result invalid license, Bavarian cities, and electric licenses to my result array, and that gives me the result that I was looking for. So if we take a look at that, we actually can navigate to that one. Do a node solutions. Then you get the result that it's 480 invalid licenses, 282 Bavarian cities, and 128 electric licenses. And that was that. Did you get the same result? And if so, how did you do it?